right, let's do this. Welcome back to the Trifecta podcast, a podcast from all corners of perspective. I am here once again with my BFFs, Braden and Dezzi, and myself, Brandi. This week is episode 5. Are we episode 5 already?
No, I think this is 6.
This is 6? I can count really 6. Well. Okay, yay me. I'm off to a great start. This week we're going to be focusing on a pretty interesting topic, and we'll touch base in regards to the recent controversy in speaking about the African-American Ariel casting. Or is it Ariel? I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Ariel.
I think it's Ariel.
Okay,
yeah,
I was like, I don't want to mess this up right off the bat, and people be like, the whole podcast, like, shut up. So yeah, we'll talk about the new casting of the Ariel for the live-action Little Mermaid. But before we get too in-depth with that, how was everyone's week?
Des, give her.
No pressure.
Hi. Well, this week was... it was testing for me.
I don't like a testy week.
My kids, it was fine. Like every week, no matter what happens at the end of it, like I'm happy, I'm good, and I get recharged and we go for another one. Right.
I feel like you kind of have to though.
Well, yeah. But and I try to stay on a positive note all the time. But I had like a testing week with the boys. It seemed like, I felt like sometimes they get like that, and then people will be like, is it a full moon? And you're like, it is a full moon. Oh, it's just this crazy reason why they're being like this. But it was like the whole week, and obviously not a full moon reason, but they were acting like lunatics. Like they were like, just, I feel like more aggressive than usual, and like aggressive in the way of like them wanting, like demanding things, and like Xander being like, no, I want this. And then it was just, and Bash was like, anything he knew he wasn't supposed to touch or he wasn't supposed to do, he did this week. And there was this one day where I just I had like a full on meltdown, and I felt horrible for it. And
yes, how dare you have feelings?
Well, no, but it was I don't want there's certain things that I don't want my kids to think that it's okay to act like that when something happens that you're upset about. But I get it too. They also have to see that people are human and that they sometimes make mistakes and they feel things and they handle it wrong too. But I had the meltdown of all meltdowns. I was having the longest day with them. They were just pushing all the buttons, touching stuff that they weren't supposed to touch. And I thought for a moment, we were in the basement. I'm like, okay, I think I have a moment I can actually have a coffee. It was after lunchtime, and I still hadn't had coffee, which is life fuel for me. So I was like, I can finally have a coffee. I sat the coffee on the ground because I don't put it up on the table because I'm scared that Bash will pull it and spill it on himself.
Right.
So I put it under the couch, and then Xander was like, Mom, come help me do this thing. And I quickly walked over to him. And by the time I turned around, Bash had it in his hands, and he looked me dead in the eye and just turned it upside down. And it spilled everywhere on the floor, and it stained my carpet. And I literally was just screamed at the top of my lungs. I picked him up. I put him into his exerciser so he can't get out from there. And I went into the laundry room and continued to scream for probably 30 seconds, which is a long time for kids to hear, at the top of my lungs. And then I came out and I cleaned, and then I felt horrible, and I started to cry, and then I felt horrible for that. So then I had to obviously Bash doesn't understand. So I apologized in my own way with him, held him and whatever. But then with Xander, I had to sit him down and be like, okay, Mommy made a mistake. I shouldn't act like that. I was very upset, and sometimes that happens, but I'm really going to work on not letting things bother me that much. I just had a really hard day, and even though that's not an excuse, can you forgive me? And he, of course, is like, yeah, Mommy, I'll help. And then after that, he was sweetest. He was like, I'll help you clean up, and I'll help you with Bashy, and all this stuff. And I felt so bad, but I was also very proud that he seemed to understand what I was apologizing for. And he's like, we do this thing that when we're upset, And it's more like, obviously more for him. Like, I'm like, okay, if you get upset, you put up your fingers on your hand, and I tell him, like, blow out your candles. We saw this on like Sesame Street. So he'll take a deep breath and blow out each of the candles, and that calms him down. So he tells me at the end of like me apologizing,
No.
like, I'll help you, and you just have to remember to blow out your candles next time.
Aww.
And it was the sweetest thing. So I felt, even though I felt like extremely guilty for the meltdown, I was like, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, I'm saying to myself, obviously, I'm like, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, your kids are good. Like, they're telling you these things. So I'm obviously teaching them okay. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but I definitely don't want to get to that point again. So I'm just working on those. And I feel like that's like such a contradiction from last week, because I was like, I feel like I got a handle on it. And then this week I was like, ah!
This week the kid looks you in the eye and flips your coffee. Oh my God. I don't even know what I would have done.
But then by the end of the week, like, we still have like so much fun and stuff. So at the end, like, even though it was a very trying week and I was very exhausted by the end of it, it was still, we had lots of great moments as well.
That's awesome.
What about you guys?
I'll go, I guess. No.
Sounds good. Yeah.
For me, it was a good week this week. It was my birthday this week, so it was kind of that was fun.
Right? 17, woo!
17, yeah.
Yay!
But no, that was good. And then it was a little bit of a stressful week, just because I was applying for a new position at work, and trying to get like everything in order for it was really stressful, because I had applied for this type of position before, and I didn't get it then, and then I had gotten like additional feedback to try and like enhance this time that I'm applying. And so I was trying to answer this one specific question. My other answers for everything else I thought was perfect. I had like shared them with people. Everybody else thought they were really good. There's just this one question, and then they just kept on like eating at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't even right now. Like there would be times, because like we get an hour every on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays each week to do, it's called like professional development, and so I would use that time to try and like work on the stuff to try and improve my application. And I would spend the entire hour on this one question, and I would think I'm maybe getting somewhere, and then I'd be like, no, I feel like I'm saying the same thing over again, but in like a different way, and not really getting like my point across. And it was just like really frustrating. And so I think it was actually after I had like messaged you guys and I was like, okay, like I need like an outsider's perspective on this question, because it's getting in my mind. The people that I'm talking to, they're trying to help coach me to get to the proper answer, which is totally fine. Like I 100% get that. And I know what I want to say in my head, but it's just not coming across. And then I was able to talk about it with you guys, and then I like just flowed out like way nicer. And I like shared it with like my manager, and he was like, he's like, that's money. I was like,
oh, good.
Okay, good. I was like, what if he said it was terrible?
Yeah. Oh, I probably would have cried, because I had
okay.
But no, and so like that was really good. And then just getting like having it submitted, like I feel like a lot better now. But it was stressful trying to get like all of that kind of like crammed in and filled up properly and everything good to go. So like that's good. But like other than that, like things are good. Yeah.
When do you hear back? Probably Monday, Tuesday?
Hopefully.
Okay, so maybe we'll have some good news next week.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for you.
Thank you. How about you, Brandi? How was your week?
Oh, I'm good. Which is probably a huge departure from the past 4 weeks. No, I actually had a really fantastic week this week. I worked the whole long weekend and was fortunate enough to have the 3 days off after the long weekend. So I had the Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, I had the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, which was like it. To be honest, it couldn't have come at a better time. Just because obviously I wanted to take a block of time just to really work through whatever I've been going through for the past couple of weeks. And I really did get the time to like just like internally kind of reflect and work through things that I thought maybe I was kind of already over. And it was great. I got to like nap, which I haven't done in a very, very long time, because I'm almost 29 years old and I shouldn't be napping as much anymore. And I got to like read a little bit, and I actually got some writing done, which I haven't done in such a long time, and I missed it so much. So I felt so creatively stimulated, and I was able to get some stuff on the paper. And I'm actually reading a book right now in regards to like screenwriting and screenplays, and got to read some of that. And yeah, it was good. I had a really good week this week. I went to the beach today. I didn't like tan or anything like that because I'm terrified. I'm the whitest person in existence. So like I was terrified to like do anything in regards to like getting a sunburn, because one of my coworkers, she actually currently has a sunburn and she is like blistering and boiling and peeling. And I was like, that's a PSA for me. Like, hell no. So I just like liberally applied the suntan lotion and just like kept myself safe. And I got like a little bit of a base, which is good. Obviously I want to get a bit of a base for the cruise. So I was just going to say, I was like, oh, you're going to want to work on that base because it's going to be hot. So I have like a little bit of a nice, like healthy glow. But I ended up getting sand in my eye, in my left eye. I don't know how. So my left eye is like a little bit swollen. Because I can't do anything outside without injuring myself. But yeah, no, it's been a really great week. It's been really relaxing. I work for the next 5 days and then I'm off on vacation for a week. So that'll be really exciting. And my birthday's on the 15th because we have birthdays 2 weeks apart. Woo! Yeah, we do. Ooh, yes. Not excited about turning 29. We're going to pretend I'm still 21.
Girl. Oh, wait till next
how
year,
am I younger than you?
I don't know. We'll figure out the math later. Okay, so let's jump into this week's topic. Something I'm going to apologize in advance. Like anything in regards to film is really kind of my passion, and I will try not to be aggressive about it and about my opinions.
No, that's totally okay. I'm excited to get into it though.
Me too. So you actually heard about it first. Like you recommended this first. So do you want to talk a little bit about it? Like where you saw it or like what happened with it?
I just saw it on Facebook. I just saw that that they had announced that they were going to be doing the Little Mermaid live action version, obviously, as they're remaking all of them, which is totally okay with me. I was waiting for them to announce this one because it's probably one of my all-time favorite Disney movies. The thing that kind of like really kind of threw me off is like the controversy behind the casting. I'm gonna probably butcher her name because I don't really know how to pronounce it. It's either Halle Bailey or
Halle Bailey.
It's like Halle Berry.
One of those parents would have to spell it all weird and then pronounce it weird, I guess.
How do you spell Halle?
That's how you spell Halle.
Like Halley. Like, I don't know. It's not Halle, it's Hale. Anyways, regardless of names. But no, I just had seen a lot of controversy about people being upset that someone that was of color was chosen to be Ariel for the movie. And I just kind of I thought we had kind of gotten past all of this in general.
Absolutely not.
I think it's 2019, people. Let's be real. As long as the actress is good, what does it matter? I think because there have been so many posts and stuff about the controversy behind it. There was actually one that I had saw. I'm gonna see if I can find it so we can post it with the podcast. But it was with her with red hair, and I was like, hey, no, she totally fits the persona of Ariel. I think she's totally gonna fit her. And I don't know too much about Halle. Halle, sorry.
Halle, oh my god, you'll get it. Yeah, you'll get
People are gonna hate me.
They're like, and your opinion is void.
But I think she's gonna be a really great Ariel. It's better than the casting that someone had tried to I just saw it the other day.
Can I guess?
Oh, yes. Please guess.
I haven't seen it, but like I remember a few years ago, like Lindsay Lohan was campaigning to be the Little Mermaid.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't her. Okay, I was like, girl, like step off.
No, it was I can't remember what her name is, but it's the Cash Me Outside girl.
Stop. Danielle Bregoli?
Yeah.
Get out.
She wants to be Ariel. And I was like, how about no, first off?
Well, I mean, like, she's the right age, but like
maybe
that's a hard
Ariel
pass.
grew up in the hood, but she didn't.
Like, the thing is, like, it's not about so much, like, to me anyways, like, it's not about the look. Like, she can look exactly like the Disney version of the Little Mermaid, but suck at acting. And that's the whole point. Like, the people that like casted said, like, there was like a quote going around, and it was something along the lines of like that she was like her passion and like enthusiasm or something like that. Like all of these things were like so rare in the auditions, and that's why they chose her, not because she looked exactly like the person, like the Disney version of what Ariel was.
Right.
And like, I don't know. It's not like this story had any kind of like foundation in culture or race anyways. Like it doesn't, like, I don't know. People were saying like, like it's the opposite of whitewashing. If we did this to like Moana or Pocahontas or Mulan, everybody would be up in arms. And I'm like, well, yeah, because they're founded, like their whole story is like integral to their culture. Like,
yeah.
Like Moana lives on Motunui. Like she lives in like the Polynesian island. Her whole story is about like voyaging out and like finding this god from her culture of these oral tales that she's heard, like to save her people. Why would a white person play that? Like that doesn't make sense. Like,
whereas Ariel has nothing about that.
Yeah, or like Pocahontas. Like okay, like the Europeans come and like meet the First Nations people. Why would it be a white person that they met as a First Nations person?
That'd be awkward. Oh, you're already here?
So like, I'm just like, why? Like people who are saying that kind of thing is like, did you even think about what you said? Like, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that you're trying to like say it's a reverse of whitewashing, which happens like, we know it's happened in abundance in Hollywood. Like,
yeah.
So now you're trying to be like, no, we're the oppressed ones.
Yeah. It's always such a tough line to kind of walk on, because everyone obviously wants to see representation. And the second that anybody is the minority, they're like, well, wait a minute. Like, what about me? I don't know. At first, to be honest, I didn't really see a lot about it. And I saw like a quick blurb of it as I was scrolling through my my Tumblr, actually. And at first,
Tumblr.
I have a hockey Tumblr. There's a hockey community on the Tumblr. Anyway,
that's all who's left on there.
I have a lot of followers, guys. Shut up. Don't at me right now. So anyway, yeah, I just saw a quick blurb of it, and at first, my initial reaction was like, I was kind of not like annoyed, but I think in my head, I just thought, well, at this point, it just seems kind of disingenuous, because it's, yes, we're representing POC and people of color. And yeah, there's nothing in Hans Christian Andersen's story saying, yeah, she was white or black or, Indonesian or whatever. But for me, I was like, it just seems kind of like it's pandering to the movements right now that are kind of happening. I feel like it's just kind of because now is the right time with the Me Too movement and everything. Everyone's really pushing for representation, which I 100% agree with. But I think at first I was like, it just seems, again, just disingenuous. It just seems kind of fake because they're doing it just because it's really popular right now. And that's
that's not what he said though. Like what they said was not that at all. And that's my issue, is that like, like, yeah, okay, I get that. Like, you know what? We're making a movie and I want it to be talked about. And like, maybe part of the marketing, maybe it would be great, like to do something like that. But that's what he said. He said that he picked her genuinely because he thought that she had these qualities that were amazing for his character. And maybe like, I'm not saying that like maybe after he thought that he wasn't like, and you know what, maybe it would be a good like marketing thing too, that like this will help, everybody will be talking about it. But it doesn't seem like that's his like what these like the makers are kind of focusing on. But I'm not saying that it might not be one of the reasons, but the reason that he did give, I feel like a lot of people are just kind of pushing that to the side and being like, no, like that's not, he's not going to really say what he means, because what he really means is that he just wanted to do this because he's pushing for like to be part of one of these movements. And like everybody's going to believe what they want to, but like at what point is it okay for like somebody to just make their reimagining of a movie what they want it to be? Like he gets a choice and he wants to cast it. And just because somebody might want to have like that feeling of nostalgia when they look at Ariel, which I understand, because like that's the Ariel I grew up with too.
Right.
But like, does our entitlement trump what he wants to make and what like
I see where you're coming from, because if it was any other story, the director or the casting director would have whatever opportunity available to him to cast whoever he wanted to and have all the creative freedom in the world. Whereas, but see, that's my thing though. If you're wanting to do a reimagining, you have the basis of the story already there. So you already have the characters, you already have the story. You don't really have anything else to create or remake your own, except for whatever freedoms the original story allows you. And for me, I'm like, okay, well, if you want the creative freedom to have, let's say, an African-American female lead, why wouldn't you just write your own thing? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you just make your own?
Well, they can, but but he doesn't want to do that. Maybe he loves the Little Mermaid and he wants to.
Yeah, he's like, I love it.
By the way, I'm saying I don't even know who the makers are. I just saw the quote.
I was like, who are you talking about? I was ask who is he?
He or the name, but I just keep referencing, and I just thought I'd say that I don't know if it's a he or a she or who the person is who's making it. But like, if he's like, I want to make this, why can't he? And then not only that, it's like if you're saying like you have only like these limitations on what you can take from the original story, well, the Disney story is nothing like the Hans Christian Andersen story. So in that case, it never would have been made, and people love that movie. So why wouldn't like he get that same creativity freedom to make what he wants? Maybe this generation would be like, oh my God, I love that. And why is like, it's not a bad thing that they would have a different person to look at and be like, I love that princess. That's my Ariel. It doesn't matter if it's not our Ariel from our generation. It's
their new refreshed.
We've already grown up already, and like that's what I like about like the remakes of them now, is that they're making them for this entire new generation and trying to maybe make it so that. I don't want to say that they're doing it to make people feel like inclusive, because obviously like, this wasn't like the choice for this particular movie, but I like the idea behind the fact that some little girl can look up to this Ariel and be like, yeah, I'm represented, you know? And like, again, not saying that like they're doing it for that reason, but I like the fact that like, this is something that this generation can look forward to. As someone who like, again, growing up gay and not really having someone to look up to until like I was in like my mid-teens, like to have that representation now for our kids growing up, right, I think is super awesome to have. So I'm all for this. Like I have nothing against it. Like Ariel, I love Ariel so much. She's like my favorite. But like I think that this casting is a good casting in general. So yeah, I don't know.
And like, it doesn't take away anything from the original Ariel, like the original version. That's why I get a little bit like frustrated when I see all like these people feeling so frustrated over this choice. I'm like, you don't have to watch the movie. Like, did you watch the Brandi version of Cinderella? Like, and be upset that she was Black? Like, did it affect your life? Did it affect like the politics of the world? Like, why? Because like a group that has been oppressed and so underrepresented, why, when they're represented, are you so up in arms? They didn't take away anything of culture. Like my thing was like, okay, Hans Christian Andersen is Danish. Okay, so there's a monument in Denmark that like to the Little Mermaid, basically, for his story. Okay. So people are very like, oh, it should be a Danish girl and da 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 da. In no way do they mention Denmark or anything like that in the movie. Then there's the whole part of like, well, in the Disney version, like King Triton is very like similar to Poseidon, and like Ursula is very similar to Medusa, which is like Greek mythology. So, oh, there's Greek roots there. That's white. So why can't we keep her white? It's like, that is the only reference, and it wasn't even taken from.
They're literally grasping at anything that they can hang on to like justify their opinion.
It's not integral to the story. Period. Agreed. It is not. Yeah. And so the fact that they that's a freedom that was there for him, that he could pick literally just based on who he felt in his gut for his movie, because it's his movie, his reimagining. Even though he's taking a story that's done, it's his reimagining of it.
Right.
And he was able to take his gut feeling and go, that's the person who I feel is my Ariel in my movie. And people are like, no, my entitlement of like my opinion and what I want, only based on the visual of who I want to be in that spot. That's what matters more than like people being able to be creative, or even like the fact, but like it is kind of like a nice step for representation for the Black community, people of color and all of that. Because like what Braden was saying, like it is nice that they can see a little bit more representation, especially in the Disney world where the princesses are like such a like, phenomenal. Right? And like that, I had seen a post and I was just like, oh my God, this, like, it was about like how people, like you often hear the stereotype, people saying like, oh, Black people can't swim. And even now, lots of people, it's like a funny joke. And even my like friends who are Black, like will make that joke sometimes. But a lot of people actually are very disconnected from the origin of why that is. Like as slaves, you wouldn't teach them to swim because you're fearful that they will escape. Mm-hmm. And then with racism in America, that like they weren't able, like the housing discrimination, they weren't able to buy houses that had pools, or that when they did go to pools, it was segregated and they were not allowed. There were bans. And then even the ones that they didn't have bans on where they were allowed, like acid was poured into them and they were like, accosted outside of those pools and beaten. Like that's where this stereotype comes from. And that's where this, like, there's like that little bit of truth to it, but it's like to then make those jokes and not know where it comes from is an issue. And so when they see this Ariel and she's swimming, flipping her fins, it makes me feel good that they might be like, oh my God, I'm so excited to go to the beach or go to the pool. And like, I can be, like, why is that such a bad thing?
And that circles back to not having an educated opinion. People just need to take the time, go back in, do their research, have a look at what the real basis and foundation of the whole argument is, and then make a justified opinion. Because I feel like people are just saying things for the sake of saying things, or they're saying things because, yes, we have freedom of speech. However, can you also do your due diligence and educate yourself before you have that opinion? And just so we're clear, I 1,000% agree with this casting. I'm actually really excited about it. That was just my first initial reaction. I was like, okay, like, I can't say anything. I am a privileged white girl. Like, I can't speak to any sort of struggle or anything like that, but I can understand and I can acknowledge all of those things as far as like, the struggle of the African-American race and the struggle of even still today, racism, that it baffles my mind. But I 1,000% agree with the casting. I think it's, the director is Rob Marshall. He's a white man. He did Into the Woods, and he did
I love Into the Woods.
He just did the new Mary Poppins as well. He has a track record with taking stories that are already available to us and reimagining them. And I 1,000% agree with Braden about having, we had the Disney movies that we grew up with. And I feel like if we had kept those same Disney movies, it wouldn't maybe impact them the same as these new reimaginings, because technology for cinema has come so far. And for them to see something, like as if us watching a movie from the 80s, we'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so lame. Or look at this, CGI, right? We wouldn't appreciate it the same because we're too busy making fun of it. I feel like if we have the opportunity to reimagine these films for the generations coming up now, of course, we have more technology available to us. I think it'll make it that much more magical for them so they can have their version. So yeah, I 1,000% agree with everything both of you are saying. I just had to play devil's advocate for a minute.
Oh yeah. And also to what you were saying, like with the like reimagining for like this next generation, like I just recently saw like the new Aladdin, which I loved. I haven't
seen it yet.
I really enjoyed it. And of course, like I was like a little bit not worried, because I mean it's a movie, so like whatever, you either like it or you don't, it's not the end of the world. But like I was a little bit like apprehensive to see a different genie other than Robin Williams, because Robin Williams is like a special place in a lot of people's hearts. But I thought Will Smith did amazing at just being his version of the genie, and I liked that the movie, it stayed true in a lot of ways to the original, where I could feel nostalgic, but it was also different in some ways. And like they gave an extra song to Jasmine, and I feel like they gave her a little bit more of her story, and like gave her a little bit more, like she had goals and she had things she wanted to do, rather than like in a lot of Disney movies, which is a big issue for a lot of people when they look back at the cartoons, is like, yes, I grew up and I love these movies, but the message is pretty, like, I don't really want to teach my kids this or that. Sometimes you don't agree with it all the time. Like even with the Little Mermaid, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, a 15-year-old girl sees a boy, and then she's like, I'm going to give up my voice to go and be with him, right? So like
every teenager ever.
Me right now.
I feel like it's also like an opportunity for these filmmakers to kind of like put a little bit of extra meaning where maybe they thought that it lacked. And I think that's interesting to watch. Even as much as you might love the originals, you can still love the originals for what they are, but then you can love the new piece of art as what it is as well. It's separate. It's its own.
And kids are so much more socially aware nowadays at like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 than we were. Like 6 years old, I wouldn't know. Like I wouldn't really care too much about representation or that kind of thing. But I feel like kids these days are so perceptive. To have those extra meanings within the film, I think is going to make it that much more enjoyable for them too. And they're very aware. So
yeah. And I don't think that it's that they weren't so perceptive. It's just that you might not they might not understand that that's how they feel. But when like people of color do see their representation in movies, like I feel like a lot of like European, like white people, like European looking white people, like they don't understand that because they are so represented. So when people of color see it, there is like a feeling of, I remember getting like my first Barbie that was like brown colored and being like, whoa, like I have like a Barbie that's like my skin tone. Like it was like profound to me, that like I thought it was like, oh my God, how did I get to have this Barbie? And like, like it's so much nicer now that we're getting these, like, it's still not where it needs to be, but like the fact that like I can go to a store and get a Barbie that's brown or darker or lighter or whatever I want. There is options now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, it's not that they're not aware. They might not be like always thinking about it, but then when they do see it, it matters so much to them. So it also just sets up the whole thing for their life, like what they're going to expect. And so that's very important, like just in life in general.
Well, I was just looking it up because like the thing I like about it, like how like this is a new Disney princess that's going to be like of color. The last time there was somebody that was of color, or the first time it ever really was, and especially in animated movies, the first one was Tiana from The Princess and the Frog, which was in 2009.
Yeah,
like that was only 10 years ago. That was the first time that there was a princess of color.
Okay, I was going to say, were you going to say African American? Because Pocahontas was of color.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And like Mulan is of color. Okay, I was like, hold up, I will fight you.
Yeah. But you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah.
But and like, may I add for that movie, like she spent most of it as a frog. I haven't like.
Oh, really? I haven't watched it.
I don't know if I've watched the whole thing, but like, I don't remember it that much because, like, obviously,
so she didn't even really get screen time as a human. Is that what you're saying?
Well, like most of the movie, she was a frog. So
we got to get that amphibian representation up in this bitch. Oh man. All right. Well, I think just in general, like as a general broad topic of representation in Hollywood, I feel like we're heading in the right direction. We're doing the right things. Films like Moonlight, with an all African American cast, are winning Oscars. They're getting that notoriety, whether it's because now is quote unquote a popular time for that kind of representation, but it's happening, and I think the right steps are being taken and the right movement is happening. And I feel like film is film. It's there to be creative. It's there to be expressive. And I feel like if you're not feeling something about film, you're doing it wrong. And just in regards to like the opinions of everyone getting all angry about it, I just, like you said before, I could not agree more in regards to like, once somebody is not in the majority, everyone is so quick to just like jump on other people to make themselves feel better or just to share this opinion. Like, I just don't understand how we can't all be like supportive of each other and each race. Like, we can't build each other up and hold each other up and be excited and be like, oh my gosh, yes, a Black Ariel. That's so rad. I'm so stoked for you guys. That's awesome. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to support your film, and why it can't be vice versa. We're all human at the end of the day.
It's just, it's so sickening that like, the thing is that it's like, people just are I feel like a lot lately, like that I see posts, not even necessarily just about this, but like just people complaining about like oppressed groups getting any sort of attention or making like steps towards
taking time away
an achievement or some success, or even just being equal. Like she got an equal opportunity with other people, where he did not be like, okay, the original princess is white, so I have to cast a white girl. So he actually like gave equal opportunity. And then people are like, no, because we didn't want that kind of equalness, like for a Black person to play this, like, hello, like this
there's
is
no stipulations.
Yeah.
There's
and like,
no stipulations to equality. There can't be.
And that's the thing is like, that's what most frustrates me is like that. And like, even like, so that, and then like, I've seen like in my community, like Transcona, they painted like a sidewalk with the rainbow colors, and like it doesn't like necessarily say like it's for Pride. They had another painting that was like all different kind of colors, not rainbow colors, but like pink, yellow, green, stuff like that. So it was just like making it look pretty and stuff, whatever. And like if the rainbow represents Pride, then cool, but like it doesn't say Pride anywhere. And people were complaining on like a forum about like, oh, like they're always looking for attention and stuff. And I felt like the same way about that as I do with this, is like, stop, like anytime that anybody is trying to make a movement, it is because they need to. They are oppressed in these ways that they are moving towards these equal rights, which, like I always say, like humans are humans. Like get that through your heads, people. Like humans are humans. Yes. We all deserve respect and love, and we all deserve the same rights. And like, it's just like so disgusting to see people who are like, oh, they want attention, they want this. It's like, no, they want fucking equal rights.
They literally just want to have basic human rights.
Yeah, that's and it's just the same as any Black movements, any people of color who are trying to get this equal representation or equal rights and all these things. Like it's just it's unfathomable to me that like that is what you're complaining about, is that you don't get to see the princess that you saw in a cartoon, which mermaids are not real. Like,
wait, what?
Like, if you're going to complain, like,
what are you talking about?
I'm sorry. Like, then yes. I'm disappointed that they didn't cast a real mermaid to play Ariel.
Get that amphibian girl. Get that amphibian girl from the Toad movie.
And who was upset, like in the cartoon, that like Sebastian had a Jamaican accent? Do you think that he was white? Like voice actor was white with Jamaican accent and you had no issues with that, but the mermaid couldn't possibly like have anything like.
That's because she's the main character, right? So like she's the most important.
Oh. Or that, like, you know, animals can talk underwater in general.
Humans can be, now that we're nitpicking, yeah.
Like, really, if you're going to go by fact, because I've seen actual people arguing on the internet about, like, how if she was a mermaid, she'd be underwater and her skin would be almost translucent. And I'm like, how would you even freaking know that? Like, there are black fish at the bottom of the ocean, like the deep sea, like, ocean creatures that are black. So why couldn't there be a black mermaid? And again, mermaids don't exist. As far as we know, anyways. I don't want to discriminate.
I'm just waiting for those mermaids to be like, yo, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait here, girl, wait here. Oh man.
You start showing up all over the place.
Right. It makes me think of I was scrolling through my Facebook the other day and I saw a quick ad about a I believe she was a Muslim woman from Bangladesh. She started a fashion brand because she is plus size, and the average woman in North America is size 12 to 16. And she started a fashion brand because she noticed in fashion blogs and fashion magazines, she's an East Indian woman, and she was size, I would say 16 or 18. And she said she couldn't find herself in modern day social media anywhere. She couldn't find a representation of her own self. And so she started a fashion line, and instead of having the sizes, it was like, you know, sassy or independent or those kinds of things. And just seeing her, because I didn't think about it before then, obviously, because I am a very privileged white person and I have representation across all of fashion. But until I had seen that video, I was like, yeah, you know what? I've never seen, you know, a plus size East Indian woman anywhere in any sort of fashion blog and I follow fashion quite often. So I just thought that was interesting. Before we even started talking about this, it kept playing on my mind a lot. I now that I'm looking at fashion magazines, like at the grocery store, or, you know, catching whatever I catch on Tumblr, because I have some fashion blogs there. It's really not representation for her. And I can't imagine. I was so lucky to grow up having representation everywhere. And I can't imagine growing up and not being able to find yourself in that kind of marketing, in that social media, in a Barbie, those kinds of things. And I just feel like it really does make me a more aware human to have people like you, Des, in my life that are reminding me of these things, that like people aren't so lucky. They aren't afforded these things so easily, and we can't take these things for granted. And when we have the opportunity to have a friend represented or have something represented for them, why would you not want to celebrate that with them and be excited for them? I'm like, fuck yes, like a black Ariel girl, like you get that shit. You know what I mean? I can't imagine being like, well, I'm a cranky old person and I'm butthurt about this whole situation, even though I'm not going to go see the film, but I just have to say my 2 cents on this forum where I never have to talk to anybody in person. And I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it too, it's getting me riled up. So I'm gonna simmer down. But yes, I'm so excited, not even just for you, like personally, but just for like everyone in general, just to have somebody somewhere in social media, because we're bombarded with it so much, just to have somebody that they can look up to and be like, hey, that's me, or that looks like me, or she sounds like me, or she's the same size as me, or he, I guess I shouldn't just narrow it down too much, but just people that you can look up to, or even not even look up to, just connect with and be like, hey, that looks like me. I'm okay. I'm accepted. I'm allowed, you know? Because we have so much media stimulation. Why wouldn't we be able to represent across the whole board? There's so much of it out there.
Yeah,
I'm sitting down. I need to take a drink.
No, but it is like, it does make you a little bit riled up. And like for me, the day that this all started going on our social media, on mine anyways, was the 4th of July, and it's all these like American media articles that I'm seeing, and they're popping up, and they're talking about how they're so upset about this Ariel casting. And I actually got like I actually like had some tears about it, because I also had a bunch of stuff on my feed about like the concentration camps at the border, and then I'm thinking like, man, these people are like there's so many articles about this Ariel shit, but then there's these camps where kids who are like Vashi's age, like they're like my kids' age, and they're like in these like cages, and some of them were saying like that like their diapers weren't changed for like a day or more. They're in like these cold, like concrete floor cages with this blanket, which I've heard like interviewed kids saying it still doesn't keep them warm.
It's like a foil blanket.
Yeah. And they're away from their parents. And I can't imagine that happening to my kids. And like, I just like, I think about that and like, but you're spending your time and this rigor, like the passion and everything that people have behind this hate about a fucking character.
Yes.
And use that passion to do something about something that
something useful.
Something. Yeah. Yes. And like, even in Canada, like it was the 4th of July, but like Canada Day just passed, and also Indigenous like History Month just passed. Like there are huge issues like in like the Indigenous like communities that is happening here in Canada that you can put your passion towards there. Like there are so many
up for something. Put your passion, put your energy into something that's going to make a difference, or
like,
that really matters.
Stop the hate. Like they are humans. Like these are people. They're not just like inanimate like characters that are made up for our entertainment. These are real people. So like, yeah, I get like into like the topic of it, but then it hits close that like, you know what, that passion needs to be put somewhere else, like where we can do something for like what's happening now, like because movies are made for our entertainment. It is made for an escape, and that's great, but like you got to go back to reality sometimes, and that's where it really matters. That's where that passion really matters.
Totally.
Yeah. And if we can use those films and those creative outlets to spark those kinds of things, if we can use the shock value of a story like the concentration camps to spur people into action, like let's do that. We have such a wide market of opportunity to reach so many people with one film, and I don't know why people don't take that opportunity more to really use that medium to reach as many people as possible, to spur them into action, to do something about it. Because people won't search out that information. They're not going to search it out. They're going to see it.
Yeah.
Because even like blasting it out.
Even with this movie, it's like, a lot of people were annoyed thinking, like assuming right away that like it was made because this is the time of these movements where they are like Black rights movements and stuff. And they're like, oh, they're using it for marketing. But it's like, okay, but then who cares? Those movements are there for a reason. They're not like just to be poo-pooed and like swept aside. Like, even if that was the reason, which he's saying it's not, it's like he actually gave equal like opportunity for everybody, and that's who he chose. But even if it was, why is that bad? They didn't take a culture away from the movie or anything like that. It was a blank slate for him, so he's allowed to cast who he wants. But like, even if he wanted to do this because this is the right time to get like awareness or something like for this movement, why is that a bad thing? Why are people so upset that like, that people are going to get closer to getting equality? Like, that's so upsetting. Like,
yeah, because it's not like it infringes upon anything in their life either. Because people are so quick to get defensive and protect themselves if anything for them is inflicted upon, but nothing is happening for them. Like, it's not changing their life in any way. And it's so frustrating to have that type of anger and that type of reaction for something that's really not going to affect them at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm excited to see the movie.
To be honest, I don't think it's something that I'll see in the theater like right away, but I'll definitely watch it when it comes out for sure.
There's 2 Disney movies that I was like stoked for. Well, 3 altogether, and that I have to see in theaters. One of them was Beauty and the Beast, because that's like my all-time favorite Disney movie. I can't wait to go see The Lion King when that comes out as well. And then this one is like my other like all-time favorite that I'm like stoked to see what they do with it. So I'm excited. I'm going to go see it in theaters.
Do it. It'll be good.
I'm excited just for the music because I think that I love the music from a Little Mermaid in general. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with like the songs in this one.
Yeah. And Halle Bailey is supposed to be like a great singer. I was gonna say that like Beyonce.
Yeah. So she comes with like a skill set. She's not just here for show. Like she was a child actor for a quick minute. Like she's got stuff going on. So it's not like they're just throwing her in and being like, okay, do stuff.
Yeah.
She's got talent.
Cool. I'm excited.
Anything else? I was gonna say, anything else you guys wanted to add? I feel like we got a little aggressive. Just so many passions.
But no, that's like I don't have anything else to add, but I love that we got like to those points with each other, and be able to just discuss those, because I think that people, again, like we had talked about previously, is they just read the title. They don't read the story behind things. And I think like it's really awesome that like to kind of get into things with like you guys and talk about like our feelings behind these things and really kind of get down to the nitty gritty behind it. So I'm all for
I love it too, because like especially when it comes to like stuff like this, I don't normally pay much mind to like I don't like spend a lot of time thinking about movies and stuff like that. But especially like for my kids, when like they have fads and everything, like Xander's super into Aladdin right now. Like
that's because it's the best movie.
He's so into the songs and he listens to them. He knows like a lot of the words to like Prince Ali. Like he's so into it. And like, so for when this comes out, like it will probably be one of the new fads. Like he just came from a birthday party on Saturday, his girlfriend's birthday.
Oh, okay.
His girlfriend, but like that's just his like best friend that's a girl, and she had Ariel come and surprise her for her birthday, and she sang and danced with the kids, and Xander, like, he was excited beforehand, and then but they also had a bouncy castle, so he ended up in the bouncy castle for most of the time, but he's been talking about it, so I know when the movie comes out he'll be really into it. So when I started seeing it popping up on like social media stuff, I was like, okay, well, like, even though I don't have to be into all of the fads like that he is going to be into. I might not always agree with like a movie's message or even just like the characters or whatever, but like he's free to, like whatever he likes and like explore that in his way, as long as it's not like inherently like hateful or whatever. Like obviously I would, if it was like a hateful thing, I'd be like, no, sorry, not
step in, sorry.
but I do like to like at least keep up with a little bit of what's going on with it, because like if I didn't, then I'd be like, oh, here, go see this movie that I don't know why it's all over the news, but so it's nice to like get to talk to somebody about it, and like instead of me just like having to like research it on my own. Yeah.
I think it's a learning process for me because, like I said in the beginning, right off the bat, I was like kind of annoyed because I'm the hugest like film elitist asshole. I have so many opinions about everything, and I just was like, oh, like they're just pandering to like the POC movement and blah blah blah. And it was like a learning opportunity for me because it took me time to like really work through it and be like, okay, yeah, no, but like, he's a white director and he had the opportunity to do either one. And it just took me a while. So that's when we started talking about it today, I was like, I need to think about this a minute and just like think about how I really feel, because it took me some time to process, and it's making me a better person being able to have these conversations out loud, first of all, and like to have these conversations with other people, because I normally wouldn't have that perspective if I just had my own opinion and didn't talk to anybody about it. Now I have a different perspective. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And now I'm like learning from these things and allowing myself to maybe be a little bit less aggressive with my opinions and just like simmer down and like really think about it in depth and like sort my feelings out.
That's cool. I don't know. That makes me excited.
She's like, I don't know.
Cool. No, I guess we can just like wrap it up there then. I guess that'll be our ending point. Definitely, like, listeners, let us know your thoughts and opinions by commenting on this particular podcast. We'll be back next week, and yeah, hope you guys have a good week, and we'll see you on the flippity flop.
On the flippity flop. Bye. Take care. like a snack. I ate a snack. I had the whole damn meal.